පෑස් චූටි පැක් රුපියල් 37ක වාසියක් දැන් රුපියල් 145යි.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Saturday, the 21st of January 2023. Deadly collision. Nanoya bus van and three-wheeler collision leaves 7 dead and at least 41 school children injured. Police arrest boss driver. The race begins. The Election Commission sets dates for the local government election.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. Now, the Government of Canada recently placed sanctions on 4 Sri Lankans, implicating them in gross and systematic violation of human rights committed during the civil war. The 4 Sri Lankans include former presidents Mahinda Rajapaksa and Gotabaya Rajapaksa, along with 2 former soldiers. Speaking to media recently, the Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly said that they expect other countries, including the G7 nations, to follow Canada's lead in ensuring justice.
The Foreign Minister of Canada recently spoke to international media and elaborated on why the Government of Canada placed sanctions on 4 Sri Lankans and their future expectations with regard to holding individuals accountable for their actions during the civil war.
We've been working on this for some time. Obviously, the community has been asking for justice, and to be able to have justice, you need accountability. There needs to be closure, and to do that, there needs accountability, and that's only Derana English that has been working on this for years. But overall, Canada is a strong defender of human rights and also a strong defender of the international multilateral system that has at its core the fact that human rights must be defended and are universal. So countries cannot hide behind national legislation to basically look into the issues of human rights violations within their own jurisdiction. It is just in line with our international approach, and our goal is to make sure that other countries, particularly G7 countries, follow suit.
Sanctions that you brought recently, what's the impact of that?
So first and foremost, all their assets that they could have in Canada would be frozen, and at the same time they're not allowed to come here. So we know that we're doing our part, but we know also that we have to make sure that we lead a movement and bring other countries from the G7 to do that. Many jurisdictions in the world have come up with sanctions. We've done against Russian oligarchs, against Belarusian enablers, also against Iran, the RGC officials. So we wanted to make sure that on Sri Lanka, at a time where the country is at the crossroads between making sure that they abide by the international norms or not, that we would be sending a right message.
But I wonder, how is Canada going to measure the outcome of these sanctions?
Well, the power of diplomacy is extremely effective. So I'll raise it, and I'm convinced the Prime Minister also will continue to advocate for it because he's definitely a strong supporter.
A few years back, the US brought some targeted sanctions on one of the military personnel, and then he seems to be not going anywhere from Sri Lanka. Like you said, countries like Australia, Italy, mainly those countries, the main targets of Sri Lankan military personnel to travel. Are you working with them to extend these sanctions through those countries as well?
I have good relationships with actually many foreign ministers. So I'll do my job and I'll raise it for sure.
Suppose any of these 4 individuals want to transit through Canada. Do you have the authority to arrest them?
Through this, they're not allowed to do so.
How about if their relatives happen to be here and then their assets are somehow under their names?
Under this process, their assets are being seized, and also it has an impact on any assets that are linked to them.
Are there any stated time frame these sanctions should be applied, or is there any sunset clause?
It's from the moment I make the announcement effective.
And do you have any plans to extend it further, whatever that allegations against them, to take them to International Criminal Court?
Well, at this point, this is a first good step. There's no time limit to these sanctions, and I think there's still an important path when it comes to justice and reconciliation for the Tamil community.
Now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ali Sabri, is scheduled to visit the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on Monday with the aim of enhancing bilateral relations. The 5-day official visit takes place on the invitation of Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom, Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud. Foreign Minister Sabri is scheduled to meet his Arabian counterpart and discuss furthering cordial relations between the two nations. Minister Sabri will also meet with senior officials of the Islamic Development Bank, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, the Gulf Cooperation Council, and the governors of Mecca and Medina. Now, 7 people died and at least 53 were injured in a collision along the Nanoya-Raddala road last night. 41 students are among the injured. The collision occurred after a bus carrying a group of students of Thurston College, Colombo, collided with a van and a 3-wheeler in Nanoya. Meanwhile, the police arrested the driver of the bus and will be produced before the court tomorrow. A major collision between a bus, 3-wheeler and a van along the Nanoya-Raddala road stretch on the Noorali-Hatton main road last night claimed the lives of 7 and left 53 others injured, 41 of whom are school students. The collision took place when one of the 7 buses transporting students of Thurston College, Colombo from their trip in Noorali back to Colombo collided with a van and a 3-wheeler travelling in the opposite direction. Police say the bus had collided with the van and 3-wheeler and its driver lost control of the speeding vehicle. Out of 10 passengers travelling in the van, 6 of the passengers in the van and the driver of the 3-wheeler died at the scene of the accident. 4 among the 6 people travelling in the van were members of the same family and residents of Dikkoya in Nanoya. Among the victims were 2 girls aged 8 and 12, a 19-year-old boy, 2 men aged 26 and 27, and a 43-year-old woman. The van driver was a resident of Kudagama in Hatton. Police stated that the 3-wheel driver was a resident of Nanoya. The remains of the victims were placed at the District General Hospital in Nuwara. Following the collision, area residents along with police STF rushed the 53 injured, including parents, teachers and 41 grade 11 students of Thurston College, Colombo, who were in the bus that fell off the precipice to the District General Hospital of Nuwara. The Director General of the District General Hospital in Nuwara confirmed that none of the students who admitted to hospital had sustained serious injuries. One of the 2 teachers and 5 parents who sustained injuries were transferred to the Colombo National Hospital. In the meantime, President Ranil Wickremesinghe issued instructions to relevant officials to provide necessary assistance to the distressed students and, if required, for the Sri Lanka Air Force to airlift anyone who is in serious condition to Colombo. The collision took place in a backdrop where heavy vehicles are not permitted to travel along the Nanoya-Raddala road, which was used as a shortcut due to carpeting of the road. With this being the case, the Noorali District Secretary Nandana Galaboda stated that they will temporarily prohibit any vehicles from travelling along the road. Meanwhile, Dikkoya residents put up white flags along the roads of Dikkoya to mourn the death of 5 passengers who travelled in the van. Now, the Election Commission announced today that the local government election will be held on the 9th of March 2023. With the acceptance for nominations ending today, the Colombo District Deputy Election Commissioner Mapa Bandara said that the only nominations submitted for Colombo, Homagama and Sitawaka were the only ones that were accepted without any issues. Accepting nominations for the upcoming local government election ended today at 12 noon. The call for nominations began on the 18th of January. Following this, the Election Commission announced district nominations and those that had been rejected. Accordingly, the Colombo District Deputy Election Commissioner Mapa Bandara said that nominations submitted for Colombo, Homagama and Sitawaka were the only ones that were accepted without any issues. The nominations submitted by the New Lanka Freedom Party to the Colombo Municipal Council and the Moratoa Municipal Council were completely rejected. Meanwhile, several political parties who deposited security money for local government bodies in the Colombo district had not submitted their nomination papers today. Accordingly, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna had deposited money for the Colombo Municipal Council, the Dehiwala Mount Lavina Municipal Council and the Kolonava Municipal Council, but had not submitted the nominations. The Colombo District Deputy Election Commissioner announced that although the Sri Lanka Freedom Party had deposited money in the Kaduvela Municipal Council, it had not submitted nominations. In the meantime, the Election Commission announced today that the local government election will be held on the 9th of March. Now, leader of the Jatika Jana Balawegaya, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, tells the Treasury that the Secretary of it cannot afford to not provide the funds to hold the local government election after the Parliament had allocated funds in this regard. He went on to say that intentionally obstructing the holding of the election is an offence that is grounds enough to have someone serve 3 years in prison. He made these remarks during a public rally organised by the Jatika Jana Balawegaya at the Maligawati area in Kolonava yesterday.
සීනි බදු වංචාව බිලියන 15යි. සීනි බදු වංචාව විතර ඡන්ද දෙකක් කරන්න පුළුවන් සල්ලි. උඹලා ඡන්දයක් තියාගන්න බැරි තරමට මේ රට වැට්ටුවා නම් යන්නම ඕන. ඒ නිසා ඡන්දෙම ඕන. එයි ආර්ථිකය හොඳට යනවා නම් ටිකක් හිතන්න තිබ්බත් කමක් නැහැ. තව මාස දෙක තුනක් ගියාට කියලා. මුදල් බලය තියෙන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට පාර්ලිමේන්තුව සම්මත කරලා තියෙනවා ඡන්දෙට සල්ලි දෙනවා කියලා. දැන් පුළුවන් ද භාණ්ඩාගාර ලේකම්ට සල්ලි නොදී ඉන්න. මතක තබා ගන්න. භාණ්ඩාගාර ලේකම් සල්ලි නොදී ඉන්නවා නම් එය මැතිවරණයට හිතාමතා කරනද බාධාවක්. මැතිවරණයට හිතාමතා බාධාවක් ඇති කරොත් අවුරුදු 3ක් හිරේ. දැන්ව නීල් අපු ඉන්න. ඇරියන ලියුමක් දිසාපතිවරුන්ට අප මුදල් බාර ගන්න එපා කියලා ඡන්දෙට බාධා කිරීමක්.
The Department of Meteorology says that showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the Uva and eastern provinces and in the Hambantota and Polonnaruwa districts. They announced that fairly heavy showers of about 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Uva province and in the Ampara and Bariklo districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in Sabaragamuwa, western, central and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Mathura districts during the afternoon or night. The general public is advised to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Meanwhile, the Met Department expects showers to occur at times in the sea areas off the coast extending from Galle to Trincomalee via Mathura, Hambantota, Potuville and Batiklo. Winds will be northeasterly and wind speeds will be 25 to 35 kilometers per hour. Wind speed may increase up to 40 to 50 kilometers per hour at times over the sea around the island.
It's hard to keep up with the new when you're listening to the same old Slim Bread Week. A week for professionals.
Welcome back. Now, the government held a state funeral today for the iconic filmmaker Sumitra Piris, who passed away on Thursday. The Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government announced this move yesterday. The state funeral for Piris was held at the Independence Square premises at 4 p.m. today. Born in 1934, she was aged 88 at the time of her demise. Sumitra Piris emerged to stardom in the country with over 10 films to her credit and expertise as a screenwriter, director, producer and editor. Earlier, the remains were placed at her sister's residence in Gover Street, Colombo 5, which were then taken to the National Film Corporation premises at 3 p.m. The number of artists and filmmakers paid their final respects to her remains. The US stocks rallied to close higher yesterday as the S&P 500 and Dow Jones snapped a 3-session losing streak and Nasdaq rose more than 2% as quarterly earnings helped lift Netflix while Google parent Alphabet climbed after announcing job cuts. Shares of Netflix jumped 5.846% as the streaming company added more subscribers than expected in the fourth quarter, and said co-founder Reed Hastings was stepping down as the chief executive.
Netflix's quarterly report comes as the technology and other growth-related sectors face hurdles due to the rising interest rate path of the US Federal Reserve and recession worries that have led companies to lay off thousands of employees. Alphabet Incorporated was the most recent company to announce job cuts, as it said it was cutting down 12,000 jobs, sending shares 5.34% higher. The gains sent the communication index up 3.96% as the top performer among the 11 major S&P 500 sectors, notching its biggest daily percentage gain since the 30th of November. High-growth sectors such as communication services were among the worst performing in 2022 and were notably weaker in the last few months of the year as the investors gravitated towards stocks with high dividend yields. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1% to 33,375.49, the S&P 500 gained 1.89% to 3,972.61, and the Nasdaq Composite added 2.66% to 11,140.43. For the week, the Dow lost 2.7%, the S&P 500 shed 0.66%, and the Nasdaq gained 0.55%. Comments from the Federal Reserve officials have largely said that they expect interest rates to climb to at least 5% this year as the central bank continues to try and tamp down inflation. The Fed is largely expected to raise rates by 25 basis points at its February 1st policy announcement. Still, concerns about corporate earnings persist as the US economy shows signs of a slowdown and a possible recession.
And that's all the news we have for this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Tune into our social media to keep abreast of the latest updates. A pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.